Hello, welcome to this episode of URC Unloaded, a very special episode because we've teamed up with our friends at Supersport and we are streaming live in South Africa, one of our biggest episodes. And with that, we've got a special guest, 64-time capped, trademarked the round off into a back somersault celebration, Brayton Pulsar. Brayton, how are you? Good to have you on the show.
Hey, thanks, Stevie and JB. Thanks for having me. It really is a privilege to be on the show. And so much drama has happened. I want to wink at you guys first of all. So much drama has happened, and I tell you, South Africa by no means are also dwelling into the banter and just getting on this bandwagon of having a go at players and teams, and I think that's what you like as rugby players, because traditionally we all are very conservative, so it makes it a little bit more spicy.
Can I just clear one thing up? John Barkley, for the biggest show we've had so far, is in his car. You're not in his sauna in his house, are you, Brayton?
No, I'm not at all. I'm in a hotel room, so that's good.
Just checking. Now, we normally have a little bit of a catch-up as to what's gone on. Stevie's normally got a bad back. Played a bit of golf. John's normally been on a luxury holiday somewhere. I think he's at airport car park. What have you been up to? How's things been?
Yeah, things has been good. Are we speaking now?
No, it's to you, Braden.
To me, okay, cool. Yeah, things have been really good, Shanks. Obviously South Africa is entering the winter now, but I was in Durban for the Sharks Munster game this weekend, and I tell you what, it was 27, 26 degrees Celsius. And now I'm back in Johannesburg. It's about 22 degrees Celsius. So it's not really cold for winter terms. But for me, myself personally, I've been really good. I've been spending a lot of time on the bicycle, just trying to stay fit and getting along. Because when winter comes to South Africa, it's sometimes miserable and cold in Cape Town, where I come from. And when I get to Joburg or Durban, I took the opportunity to get outdoors and just enjoying the sunshine.
John, you played any golf this week?
No golf. I've got a game of golf tomorrow, mate. Tomorrow, I'm playing a round of golf with a guy who's playing 5 rounds of golf a day for 5 days.
How's that possible?
My name's Doddy. I'm not sure. I played 2 last year and I couldn't walk for about a week. So I don't know. I'm joining him for round 19 tomorrow. And I reckon he's still going to beat me. So no golf, which is going to be depressing. But I was doing some gardening yesterday and I've actually hurt my back. But I don't think that's going to carry any weight in this when he's played 21 rounds of golf or whatever it is. So no golf, Shanks. But I was on holiday last week. Me and you both took a break, a well-earned break. And yeah, I'm in the car, mate, on the way back from the day job.
Grafting, mate. You're grafting, aren't you? Always grafting.
Always. You know me.
Stevie, how are you? You okay?
Yeah, good, thanks, Shanks. Yeah, good. I had a game of golf yesterday, actually. Royal Belfast. Mate, how windy is it at the minute? I'm not sure what it's like where you boys are, but it's like 30, 40 mile an hour wind. So it was a tough old day. Lost on the 17th. Wasn't good, but on a positive note, the back is feeling good. I actually did a little podcast last night as well for the Red Hand podcast for Ulster Rugby boys. So interesting conversations there that we have talked about throughout the season regarding Ulster Rugby.
Happy pod?
There was a comedian on it, so it was actually it wasn't too bad. But a bit like the Munster fans this week. Not too happy with the way things have gone, but yeah, it was a great weekend of rugby. It was good to be down in the Aviva Stadium, Shanks. It wasn't the best crowd, was it? When you watched the game, there was only maybe, I think it was 12,000 or something. They said that the attendance, but I think it could have been close to half of that, to be honest. So the atmosphere wasn't great. The rugby was half decent, but it was good to sit back and watch the Sharks Munster game, which is obviously the biggest talking point to come out of the weekend.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. Talking about rugby, this weekend we'll take Premier Sports to over 350 games live this season. That's huge. It's the URC, Top 14, JRL 1, MLR, the Champions Cup, and the Challenge Cup. So plenty of rugby. No wonder we're all knackered. So much rugby to cover, but great news for Premier Sport. Now we're going to start off with our review chat. We'll start with Glasgow Stormers. I'll start with you, John. Were you at the game? No, you weren't. You had a weekend off. Have you watched it?
I have, mate. I have, and I was impressed. I think we wondered if Sorry, say again, mate.
Back to their best, Glasgow.
Yeah, I think that's what I was going to say. I think the question was, had they dipped a little bit? And I don't know if it's as simple as the fact that Sione Tuipulotu's back. I think they're a completely different team with them. We've seen that in the Champions Cup game against Leinster early in the year. We've seen it in some of their form, but they were kind of Glasgow at their best. I thought they've got a load of guys back from injury, still a little bit light, but Tuipulotu was class. Rory Darge was brilliant. All their guys, George Horn was very good. So, yeah, I thought they were. I thought that they're getting there. I still think they're a little bit light up front. They're still missing Jack Dempsey, Matt Fagerson, a couple of others. So Xander Fagerson. So they'll need them this weekend. But yeah, I was impressed. I do fancy them for this weekend, actually. But we'll talk about Leinster later. I just think of all the teams, and Henko Fenter came out and said it this week, of all the teams probably in that semi-finals now, I think they're probably one of the teams, obviously, they could have the capacity to beat anyone on their day. But they're going to have to be, on their day, clearly, against Leinster. But no, I thought they were good. Much better than they have been over the last couple of years. A little bit disappointed with Stormers.
Yeah. Brayton, what did you make of the Stormers? Not their best performance, I don't think.
Yeah. No, Shanks, I tell you what, watching it, you were like, like all those kind of funny sounds making. It was really for, as an old Stormer, obviously I was just like not happy watching, seeing the boys getting bullied so easily. And also they gave us a lot of hope coming into the quarterfinal because they had a very slow season. Their first sort of 7-8 games was so poor. And then they got it right. A lot of players came back. The likes of Sasha Feinberg-Mngomezulu strike form. Unfortunately, Mani got injured. A guy like Dion Fourie, who I feel it's so crucial for them, got injured. So they lost a lot of leaders. Netland Forsia only came back now after 4 weeks. But I think Stormers fans expected more from them, especially in a playoff game, where Glasgow had some hiccups of themselves. They had a little bit of a dip in form, and Stormers literally went and gave Glasgow, the new belief. And I tell you what, you have to give credit to Franco Smith. He really is highly rated in South Africa, and he's done so well with the Glasgow team. I think they certainly peaking at the right time, and I have to agree with JB saying that if they get it right on the day and they believe as defending champions they can go again, they are the team that can certainly beat Leinster.
Yeah. Is Sasha Feinberg-Mngomezulu, is he going to be the next South African 10? Because he's keeping Manny Lebok out. He's obviously been around for a couple of years now, but I think probably this season he stood out more for the Stormers than he has done.
Yeah, Shanks, I have to agree with you. He's going to be he's already a star. He's already making waves. Certainly he's got to learn a lot still in terms of not to be too physical at times and just to slow the game down. That he will learn. But, he's got the skill set to become one of the best ever in our beautiful game of rugby. I think he also handles it well. I know his dad personally, a guy by the name of Nick Feinberg, and that guy is very passionate. And I can tell you that he will keep Sasha's feet on the ground, and I think the Springbok culture as well. He will thrive in that because it's an environment where it's not always about the individual; it's always about the team. And I tell you what, knowing Rassie Erasmus, no one will always become too important in that team. So I'm looking forward to see him in the test coming up, against the Barbarians and the likes. But one to watch for the future. He really is in my opinion, a generational player where, he's so confident. And unfortunately, the Stormers forwards didn't dominate as they should have, like the Springboks have. So he will be even better when it comes to the Springbok setup because, the Springboks normally they dominate up front and they make sure that they give the backs good ball. But getting back to your point, he's going to be some player.
Is he going to be a 10? Is 10 his best position,
Yes,
do you think?
10. For me, 10 is the best. You've seen he's got the most drop goals in the URC. He's got 4. And he's got a attacking sort of mindset most of the time. And he's also one of those players, he needs to play in a little bit of structure, but you need to give him the freedom to express himself. because he is so good. But for me, definitely 10. Andre Pollard is certainly the man in charge. I feel, because of the experience. But I do feel that Andre is obviously getting to the end of his career, in my opinion. And I think Sasha Feinberg will be the next man to take over.
Fez, did you see enough from Glasgow on the weekend to think this team can beat Leinster in Dublin?
Yeah, I'm not sure if John's got any insight into some of the guys that have still been out injured over the last couple of weeks. I know they welcomed back a couple of guys, but I think the scrum was under huge pressure from the Stormers, and the Stormers wouldn't be recognised for having a huge pack that dominates every week, and that's certainly a concern going into the Leinster game. However, Leinster didn't really pummel the Scarlets like we thought they would either, so maybe I'm just overthinking that a little bit. But yeah, if they can get another player or two back into their starting 15 for this game against Leinster, then it's going to make it even tighter. But yeah, it just feels like Glasgow and Franco Smith are able to turn it on at the right time. They did have a small bit of a dip, but flipping heck, they had 15 or 16 of their first line 23 players out injured for a few weeks. So they'll be feeling confident off the back of that big result, Shanks.
I definitely think Tom Jordan, Sione Tuipulotu, that 10-12 axis makes Glasgow look far better, far more of an attacking threat. John, any news on Hugh Jones? Do you think he'd be fit or not?
Well, that's what I was going to say, Shanks. Like that, you say the Tom Jordan Tuipulotu axis when you put in Hugh Jones on the end of it. Stafford McDowell's, he's a good player. Hugh Jones is on the British and Irish Lions tour. So yeah, you got three guys there that Tom Jordan probably isn't far away from being. If someone gets taken a knock in the midfield, he might be the next cab off the rank. So I don't know. I know he obviously played a few weeks ago and he's sort of managing an Achilles injury. So I don't know. I don't know where Xander Fagerson is either. I know he's sort of torn a calf, as well accounts, and whether I heard that he was maybe going to be fit for this week. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'm answering your question well, Shanks, in terms of who's going to be back. I know Jack Dempsey's not going to be back. Matt Fagerson's not going to be back. So they're still missing. Still missing a few. I think Xander is probably the one that they want back. Yeah, the most, I think.
Well, yeah, it's you get those back, it changes your team around, but they certainly looked massively improved than they have been, and they're probably peaking at the right times. Bulls, Edinburgh. Now, boys, what a first half of rugby this was. Really surprised by Edinburgh, how well and how quick they came out the blocks and how well they attacked the Bulls' defence. They sort of moved them around quite well, going left to right, shortened the defence. And it was a lovely try. One of their first tries got them up the scoreboard straight away. But I think that's the way to do it against the Bulls. I think you've got to move them. You can't play too tight against them. John, what did you make of Edinburgh's performance before we turn to the Bulls?
Yeah, mate, I think you're right. I think that I don't know if it's just playing at altitude. They're a fit team, Edinburgh, and I just wonder if playing in that thing kind of forced their hand a little bit. They were very good in the running and playing a bit more rugby, and that's been the criticism of this year. They don't really know how to play open rugby, unstructured rugby. I think Darcy Graham coming back, Wes Houston's form's there. So yeah, I was impressed with them, and it ends up 6 tries to 5, leading at half time. I think they just lacked a little bit of power in the second half, and that's when the Bulls turned it on and they couldn't quite get back in. I just think realistically where the Bulls are and where Edinburgh are, Bulls finished obviously in second, Edinburgh finished I think 7th in the end. So I think Edinburgh will, it's going to sound pretty defeatist. I think they'll probably be reasonably happy with how they fronted up at the tail end of the season. It's not been a great season for them, just to almost run the Bulls close up there. I think they'd probably take that.
Yeah, I think you're right, John. Brayton, we talk about the Bulls and always we talk about the scrum, the power, how strong the forwards are. But I was so impressed by the back three against Edinburgh, and especially Willie LaRue. Like his involvements in 3 or 4 of the tries are just huge. How valuable is he to the Bulls, and how important is it he stays fit?
Is absolutely crucial, Shanks. I mean, if I take you guys back to last year's final, remember in the semi-final against Leinster, Willie LaRue got concussion, and that was the Bulls season, unfortunately. I mean, it's easy to say now, if Willie played in that final against Glasgow, it could have been different. But you've seen when the Edinburgh took the game to the Bulls, They needed a bit of calmness. They needed a bit of direction. And Willie de Roux, we call him the Sis King in South Africa. He's that guy. He shouts at his players. He gets very passionate. He's very emotional. He's a very emotional guy and a very quiet guy off the field. But that's why Jake White rates him so highly, because he have that capacity to make sure that when he speaks to players in the way that he does, he gets them fired up. And I think hopefully we're crossing fingers that Willie, he will stay, fit, hopefully to get to the final for the Bulls, because he is so important. His experience is important. But let me tell you, Edinburgh had the right approach in terms of taking the game to the Bulls that first sort of 20 minutes. And they gave them a scare. The crowd were also quiet. And I just don't see the Sharks going with the same mentality to play the Bulls, because the Sharks, their game is built around, a little bit slower, but a really, really kicking game. Jordan and Jaden Hendricks, the two brothers, they love kicking from 9. So if you can be good in the air with your wingers, you've got a bit of a counter for those kicks. And I think that Edinburgh really, really played out the socks. They gave the Bulls a scare, and that's what you want. So I think the Sharks, John Plumtree is a very streetwise coach, and he will probably come with a different plan, because they're playing late as well at 8:30, 8:15 our time is South African time. So it's a little bit colder and a little bit chillier. So it'll be interesting to see what tactic John Plumtree will throw against the Bulls.
Yeah.
And also, Shanks, just lastly, there's only 8,000 tickets left, guys. We on Wednesday. There's only 8,000 tickets left. By Friday, it's going to be sold out. 50,000 people at Loftus.
Yeah, awesome. Good plug that, mate. Well done. Stevie, rugby's about partnerships. You talked about the back three there. What about the Bulls back row? I mean, the combination just works. Hanekom could have been a Welsh player, could have qualified for Wales. Said no.
We'll keep him, guys. We'll keep him.
Wish he had, but I mean, that guy was good.
Yeah, they were class. Coetzee is awesome as well. I thought early on in the game, I'm not sure what you thought, guys, about the yellow card on Sebastian de Klerk.
Yeah. He just braced himself, I thought.
Yeah, I thought he just braced himself as well. And he walked off the pitch. He was sort of looking around going, Jesus, did that actually happen? But I thought that gave the in for Edinburgh to get their tails up and to throw the ball around a little bit more. So going into this weekend's game, it's vitally important that the Bulls, obviously their discipline is very, very good, and they don't give the Sharks a sniff, especially early on in the first 20 minutes. But in terms of go forward, it's ridiculous what the Bulls do. Hanekom, when he takes contact and he literally, his knee touches the ground, and all of a sudden he's another 10 yards, and two people are hanging off him. He's just got that hit and then go again for that second effort. So no, it's much easier as a backline to be playing in front of a back row that gives you that much go forward. And as a trio, they're going to cause a lot of problems, I think, for this Shark side. But Khaleesi and Co will have maybe something to say about that.
I think scrum time will be very interesting. Bulls scrum looked really good, but Edinburgh did give a really good account of themselves, and so did the Scarlets, I thought, against Leinster, a game that potentially could have been a banana skin for them. Leinster, though, Stevie, still not really that convincing. They showed signs, but a lot of mistakes as well.
Yeah, a lot of mistakes, and all we've been hearing out of the coaching group is, about accuracy and switching off in key moments. And this is just before half time, and a breakaway try. And I actually heard Leo Cullen after the game saying that he thought that the Scarlets were offside, and it doesn't look like they're offside. It looks like it's a fumble by Sam Prendergast, who again had a bit of an iffy game. Some really good moments, some poor. Got caught a couple of times in defence, especially for the Scarlets last try. The Jamie Osborne kick over the top by Prendergast, a bit of brilliance by him. Was a touchdown, maybe a controversial decision. He sort of just falls on it with his hip. I think it still feels a bit sketchy. They still feel like they haven't hit their straps of 5-6 weeks ago when they were beating Quins by 50 and beating Glasgow by 50, and everybody thought they were going to run away with the Champions Cup and with the URC. But now all of a sudden, I hear Tag Furlong has hurt his other calf as well. So obviously scrum time or him coming off the bench isn't going to have as big an impact. And yeah, they just don't look as fluid as they have been. And other teams now, I think Shanks, more importantly, aren't scared to give it a go against them. And I think that's where the Scarlets really impressed me, where they went 12-3 down. They could easily have folded, but they didn't. They hung in there. A couple of moments went their way, and before they knew it, they were getting at the halftime break just a point down. And yeah, it was a half decent game, but one that Leinster will look back on. And even, I'm not sure if you've seen the post match interview with Big Jack Conan, like he was almost dejected after the game because, you know, it wasn't the performance that they were looking for. And when do you see Leinster taking 3 points, taking another 3 points, and building a lead against the Scarlets at home? Like it just shows you where I think their mindset is.
I always used to think with Leinster, and this is probably going back maybe 3 or 4 years, it would take them maybe 1 or 2 phases to get back into shape. I think they look really narrow in their attack. You know, you can pause the game and you can see like 12, 13 players all in the space of 10 meters. I think they're losing their shape a bit. They seem to be overrunning a lot of plays. There's quite a few errors, knock-ons, forward passes, losing the ball a lot. It's just not clicking for whatever reason. And maybe we're quite harsh on them because we're used to such brilliance from them. But you can see there might be still a bit of a lack of confidence. But, I mean, you still go through that team.
Shanks? Would you agree, Shanks, that the Scarlets were like, okay, we're not going to take a backward step here. We're not going to just fold. Like, they've really upped their game over the last 12
Defensively,
months.
Stevie, they were massive, I thought, against Leinster. They really met them on the gain line, defended hard. But ultimately, in that second half, mate, they were just on the back foot the whole time. And it's really difficult to win games when you're constantly defending and can't get out your own half. I thought the Tom Rogers try worked really well. Exactly what you want. You shorten the defence, can't get around the corner quick enough and make use of the overlap. But I still look at that Leinster team, and we'll get onto it in a bit for the preview for this weekend. I still look and I think, man for man, there's not many I would change out of that starting 15 for Glasgow. But they just don't seem to be playing like a team at the moment. And we're always a little bit harsh on them because of what they've achieved and the budget they've got. But you're right. They seem to have their best rugby when they played Glasgow, 4 or 5 weeks ago now, the first time they played them, and Quins in the Champions Cup. So, yeah, big game for Leinster coming up. Now, the biggest, most contentious game of the weekend, Sharks 24, Munster 24. Now, before we get into the kickoff, because I don't know if you guys know, I've actually done a kickoff and now I'm a kick, so I know what it feels like. I can put myself in that position of players. What did you think of the game, Brayton? Do you think, regardless of the draw, do you think the Sharks did enough to win that before the penalty shootout?
No. I mean, I'm going to give you my honest opinion. I don't think the Sharks did enough to win it. They were lucky to scrape through, and literally in the last sort of 15 minutes, they almost got the act together. And I mean, Ethan Hooker scoring the try. He's one of the best.
He's been brilliant
Sharks
this season.
He's brilliant. Yeah, he's brilliant. He's already been called up by Rassie Erasmus for the alignment camps. And even Mapimpi, they were really outstanding. But apart from that, it was, in my opinion, it was a little bit one-dimensional from the Sharks at times. And it makes it very easy to defend. They have the one-off runners. And again, you're talking about a bit of a budget. They really have a good budget. They bought a lot of Springbok stalwarts, guys who won 2 World Cups. But for them, they haven't clicked like we'd like to see them click. Maybe we're a little bit harsh on them too, because there's so many box, the likes of Ibn Etzebeth, Sia Kolisi, Lucanio Armed, Makazola Mapimpi, just to mention a few. Maybe we want kind of the same sort of, domination from them. But at the moment, we're not getting that. But in saying that, they always found a way to win. Whether it's ugly, whether it's whatever way, they get over the line. And I think they will give the coaching staff a lot of confidence going into the Bulls game. They sort of under the radar. They don't talk a lot about it in the media. They always play the underdog tag, and then they get it over the line. So Sharks, they've been scrappy, and they have 40% that they can improve in their game to maybe get to a possible final. And I think that's what makes them dangerous, because they haven't hit their straps. They haven't been slick. They haven't been good to watch. They play this really boring rugby where they kick the ball and chase and get the ball back and get penalties, build scoreboard pressure, and they take it from there. So I can tell you guys, it was absolute chaos in Durban. We as commentators, at some point, we didn't know what was going to happen. We thought we were going to be there till midnight on Saturday night, but plenty of drama. And John Plumtree, certainly, he had a masterstroke. And literally, 30 seconds before the end of the extra time, he put on a chap called Bradley Davids. I don't think you guys heard much of Bradley Davids, and he came on and he showed some nerve to kick over that ball. And you kind of feel for Munster, because they were in the game, they were taking initiative, they were playing in the right areas, they were scoring tries when they needed to, but unfortunately the Sharks just kept in the game. They just kept hammering, and in extra time as well, nobody could get over the line and take it by then, and that's why we went to the kicks.
I'll tell you what they've got to fall back on as well, like Esterhazen hitting a short line off the lineup. Then you've got Mbatha coming around the corner. They've just got a bit of power. I thought the subs had come on, made a massive difference. Buthelezi carried so hard. Stevie, Sharks had majority of possession and territory in the second half, but still, you've got to credit Ulster's mentality to stick in there and front up, because it went all the way.
Yeah, no, it did go all the way. And just looking at the previous results from the Sharks, they do seem like they're a bit of a second half team. And it sort of started away at Edinburgh, didn't it? When Mapimpi scored in the corner of the last play of the game. Then, of course, they scored 19 unanswered points against Ulster. Then it was at home against the Ospreys, 2 tries to 1 in the second half. And then that kick fest against the Scarlets. So, they brought it back. They went behind on the scoreboard, but they found a way to dig themselves out of a bit of a hole. I think Jacobs, is it the sub tight head prop, is a phenomenal player. Gives him so much go forward. And Chunu as well, the loose head prop as well. And they do have that power game. But I know, Brayton, you were talking about these one-out runners, but see when they go one-out runners and then they try a little tip-on pass inside or outside, that's when they're making mistakes. It's like when they try to overplay even just a little bit, they stray away from what the Springboks do on a week-to-week basis, just one-out runners, get around the corner, get across the gain line, get a go forward, milk a penalty, get a scrum penalty, go to your maul. Once they try to add another couple of strings to their bow, it goes tits up. And it's really difficult to watch at times. I didn't think it was a high quality game, to be quite honest. I don't think Munster were brilliant, and obviously the Sharks, they certainly didn't bring their best game either. But that's maybe a good thing getting into the game this weekend, against the Bulls, that they do have so much more in the tank, and they do have so much more quality and experience that they can rely upon. But I think they have to strip it back even more, Shanks, the Sharks. Because as soon as they try and overplay, Munster were just knocking them backwards up the field. Then they kick it. Then Munster were just knocking them backwards up the field again. It was really difficult to watch at times. So, it's going to be a big week of coaching for John Plumtree and his coaching staff. But, fair play to Munster. They went away, a long travel, and put in a performance that I'm sure the Munster fans we're proud of, that they hung in there. But unfortunately, we'll get to it now with the kicking display. Rory Scannell missed one, and that was what cost him.
John, none of us are kickers, I don't think. But do you think that Munster had the right kickers in the right position? I know Rory Scannell's left foot, but the easiest one is obviously in front of the post, I think.
Well, yeah, the fact that you're asking the question, Chang, is probably not. I don't know how often he kicks. When the last time he kicked for Munster, you'd certainly think he would be taking the easiest kicks, wouldn't you? So, yeah, I kind of feel for him, because slightly tricky kick. You would have thought they maybe would have shifted the order up slightly, but yeah, probably not, to answer your question, Shanks. Probably not.
And what do you make of the wing?
To get that kick regardless.
Yeah. What do you make of the little wing?
What do you make of what?
I know you've done a few of them in your time.
Oh, the wing. The wing. The wing. Mate,
Saturday night standard for you, isn't it?
Yeah, guilty back in the day. Hey, I'm all for it, mate. I think there's so much history between South Africa and Ireland at the moment, certainly with what's happened at World Cups and other matches, and I think it did. The fact that, again, we're talking about it, it added some drama, added a bit of excitement, didn't influence the kick. He definitely had cramp. Like, that's the thing. Could he have moved it over? Yeah, of course he could have done. But you see it in football with goalkeepers coming off the line. You see it, that kind of sportsmanship, and I think you're kind of crying out for moments like that. There's moments of cheating, if that's what you want to call it, throughout the game, always. So I always think when you get to the end of the game and you're pointing to one moment right at the end, and if you're talking about that as the turning point of the game, then you're kind of missing the whole context of the game itself.
Yeah, and obviously Crowley got his kick anyway, so it made no real difference to him. Brayton, how impressed are you with the kicks from Sharks? 100%.
Jeez, I tell you, they must have done their homework. I spoke to Coach John Plumptre as well, and yeah, he said they were reluctant to put on Bradley Davids, but obviously ultimately it worked out for them. But you have to give it to the players. You have to give it to the Hendricks brothers, Jaden and Jordan. But I think for me, Bradley Davids just got into the park, and suddenly, a couple of minutes later, he had to take a big kick to literally put them into the semi-final. So it also tells you that the Sharks team, they're a bunch of fighters. They're not going to give up, and I think the Bulls certainly can't by no means underestimate the amount of caps that the Sharks have. The Siya Kolisi and even Etzebeth alone, I mean, those two will certainly come to Loftus with the belief that they can beat the Bulls. I mean, we've seen it over and over again. The SA derbies are absolutely, it's like a slaughter out there, right? They will be physical. It will be so hard for both teams. But at the end of the day, you need to also keep your calm in those high pressure moments. So for me, you got to feel for Munster. I mean, I spoke to Take Byrne after the game as well, and he was devastated. He wasn't a happy chap. But I mean, you got to give it to guys like Jack Crowley who put over some of the kicks. And I was surprised, coming back to your point earlier on. I was even surprised that a guy like Conor Murray didn't take maybe one of those kicks, because he slogged over that long kick that made the game, a deadlock. So I was quite surprised with that as well. But hopefully, guys, we won't see soon a kicking contest, because really it just feels so unfair for me.
No, it does. And that's the second time Munster have lost, because they lost in the quarters, didn't they, in 2022 in Champions Cup against Toulouse. Yeah. Do you know what? The only thing that could have topped off that wink from Hendricks was if they played Zombie after the game. That really would have hurt the Munster fans. But it was a massive goodbye to Amani, Murray, Scanlon, Archer. They've now finished their time at Munster. Sad way to go, but still a good performance and a tough performance, and I think they can be proud of what they've done. So we come to the player of the round. Normally, Brayton, we have a little discussion about this as to who we're going to pick. If anyone wants to throw a name out there, I'll start with Villy Leroux. If anyone wants to challenge that, go for it.
Oh, Villy Leroux. What about Bradley Davids?
Yeah, okay, I'll take that.
Yeah, I go for Tom Jordan.
Ooh.
Let's go.
Okay, well,
he's playing well at the minute.
He is. It's 2v1, so we're going Bradley Davis. So he is our URC player of the round, nailing those kicks in a difficult situation. Just come off the bench. Big nerves to do that. Now, before we get on to our final thoughts, if anyone's got a rant, my rant is John Barkley and his Wi-Fi. Oh, he's back. You're just on my rant.
It wasn't my Wi-Fi. I just got kicked off.
Oh, did you?
It's randomly.
Yeah. Some sort of, yeah. You parked in the woods somewhere, are you? Someone knocked on your window.
I think it's in the steam room.
Service station.
He's in the steam room.
Right. Any rants? John, we'll start with you. Any rants?
Just, I guess, the constant bullying about my signal and Wi-Fi issues. My rant for the week. I'm trying my best.
Selling a hoodie today? Sold any hoodies today?
That is my rant. I won't even go into that. I drove for about 4 hours for a sales trip here, Brighton. I work for a whiskey company, and
Didn't really go to plan. So they did buy a hoodie from the gift shop, so it wasn't really worth half my day. So just people in general not doing what they say they're going to do, and then other people
Stevie,
bullying you. Colleagues bullying.
Any rants? No, Shanks, it's been a good week. I'm looking forward to getting back down to Dublin. You boys are back from your holidays, so we need to get a golf day organised. Boys,
Yeah, mate, we've said that for 2 years, mate.
Yeah,
I know.
it's never going to happen.
So,
no budget. There's no budget.
Next year.
Brayton, have you got anything you want to get off your chest? It's quite therapeutic.
Yeah, I think it's more positive. I think after the wink, SA in Ireland, Twitter or X went crazy. I think that's what the game needs sometimes. I think we our rugby players and rugby fraternity is very respectful. But let's just keep the banter, keep it fun, and don't make it personal. And I think that's really good for the game. And as long as you keep it respectful, we can have banter until midnight.
Just imagine Leinster were playing the Sharks this weekend and the Leinster win. Imagine how many winks would go from the Leinster team.
Shanks. I obviously got asked the question post-match by Ross about what I felt about the situation. I was like, look, if anything is going to bring more eyes to the game, more rivalries, everybody can't wait for Munster to play against Sharks next season again. And honestly, the amount of direct messages I got calling me a disgrace and an embarrassment. I shouldn't be endorsing this shithousery behaviour by players, and it needs to be stamped out. And the game of rugby is built on respect, and what he did was completely uncalled for. Honestly, I reckon I received maybe 20 messages, personal ones on Facebook from Munster fans.
Your family are harsh, mate. Your family's too harsh on you.
Cool, mate.
But it really got up the goat of so many of the Irish, more so Munster fans, that the way it transpired. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that game next year if it happens.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to this weekend. 2 massive games. We start with Leinster versus Glasgow, 2:45 Irish and UK time, 3:45 South Africa time. Boys, what's your final thoughts? Who have you got to win that? I'll go first quickly. I'm going Leinster. Still think at some stage they're going to click. They're one of my favourite teams. They have been for such a long time. I think if it clicks, they've got more than enough to beat Glasgow and win this competition.
Check.
Okay.
It's hard to
Brayton,
hard to argue.
Brayton.
That, but I do feel that again. I'm coming down. For me, it's going to come down to coaching, and I think Franco Smith, he knows how to get the Glasgow guys up. So I'm going to just throw a spinner in the works and say Glasgow.
Yep. No, I can see that.
Yeah.
They're
I'm with Brayton.
Yeah.
And with Brayton, I just think, you watch the Scarlets, Glasgow, similarly, nothing to lose. No one will give them a chance, really. People are maybe going to, there's a few question marks about Leinster. I just think Glasgow with Tui Pilotu, hopefully Hugh Jones at centre, Tom Jordan, I think can cause some serious problems.
They like that, don't they, John? They like no one giving them a chance. Munster and the Bulls last year.
Well, they did it the hard way last year, so.
They did it the hard way.
Exactly.
Right, so that's number 1. Round 2 is Bulls versus Sharks, 5:15 Irish and UK time, 6:15 South Africa time. Bulls. I'm saying Bulls. I think they're both really good teams. They're both physical, but I just think maybe the Bulls have got a little bit more out wide, just a little.
Yeah,
Stevie.
I agree with you.
I'm going to go. Go on ahead, Brayton. You go for it.
Yeah. I have to say again, it's going to be tight. Let me put it this way: I won't be surprised if the Sharks do get it, but I'm going for the Bulls. They got a bit more variety, and with the likes of Willie Leroux and Ruan Orkia coming back, playing his best rugby again. Wilco Low, there's a lot of Springboks in the park Saturday. I just feel that home, playing at home for the Bulls are going to be extra special with Willie Leroux as well. And also, you guys mustn't forget, I promise you, unfortunately, sadly, Cornel Hendricks passed away a couple of weeks ago, and I went to the funeral. The whole Bulls team were there. And I tell you, Shanks, JB and Stevie, there was some really powerful moment in the church that I felt that day. So I just feel that the Bulls, they playing not just for themselves now, they really playing for a guy like Cornel Hendricks. So I just feel that they're going to have a little bit more emotion in this game too. And Ed Loftus, going to be a sold-out Loftus. I'm going Bulls.
Stevie, what are you saying, Bulls?
Yeah, I can't go past the Bulls. I think they've got such a good power game. Big platform to play off. Philly Rue just pulling the strings when he needs to. The Sharks' discipline, I know I touched on that the Bulls need to be squeaky clean, but the Sharks' discipline throughout the season has been dreadful. And I just feel that the Bulls are going to have too much for them. And again, a little bit of emotion as well. As Brayton talked about, we'll probably see them over the line. Well, I hope it does. I think also, Shanks, I think everybody would love to see a Leinster versus Bulls final. I think they've been the two most consistent teams in the competition this year, obviously finishing first and second as well. And I think it would be a brilliant final to have back home in Dublin with the Bulls coming over to try and take another one off Leinster. But a lot of rugby to be played before then.
Yeah, I'd like it in Dubai, the final, just if anyone's asking. Halfway. John?
Yeah. I think if you looked at the teams, and we've said this all year, look at the two teams on paper, you'd pick the Sharks. But for whatever reason, they don't match up to the sum of their parts. I don't think so. I'm going for the Bulls. I think, like Brayton said, the motion, playing at home, big crowd. Yeah, I'm backing the Bulls.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think we're all in agreement. The Bulls. Just a quick note: Stuart Lancaster, Stevie, is now head of rugby or director of rugby at Connaught. Happy with that?
Yeah, thanks, Shanks. There's a few rumours floating out during the week about Jared Payne being involved. That might still happen in some capacity, but yeah. Was it about 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago? There was an article come out saying that Stuart Lancaster would love to go back and coach in Ireland. And then maybe from somebody from Connaught or David Humphreys from there, if you picked up the phone and gave him a ring and said, "Oh, you actually being serious?" So yeah, he's in there. The new stadium looks like it's going to be ready to go for, if not the first game, maybe second or third game of the season, which will bring a lot of that faithful back into Galway. And yeah, I think it's going to be brilliant. They're always a team that looks like they have a lot of potential and maybe need the finer coaching details. And we obviously know with his time at Leinster that he's very good at that. So yeah, good signing.
Yeah, very good. Well, look, it's been great having you on, Brayton. It's been great to have a bit of positivity. Hopefully it'll rub off on us three. I can't wait for this weekend's rugby, which is all live on Premier Sport. We will be back next Tuesday, and I'll be in Villamora. So good luck to whoever's hosting that one. It's going to be a bit wild, I can imagine. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you to Super Sport. Thank you to Premier Sport. Good night.